Okay, hi everybody. I'm thwol, and I'm here with other who just crushingly defeated me in the final of the monthly tournament. And so we unfortunately right after a game he had to leave, and so we didn't have the time to discuss the details of my
I should say one of the rare times I've defeated you.
well, I mean, you won when it mattered, I guess.
Yeah.
um so yeah, maybe like for how long have you been playing Innovation?
Oh, I learned it maybe 8 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Um, but but my friends who I played with, with physical cards on a physical table moved away,
Mm.
and I played a lot on isotropic. Um,
Yeah, I
the
heard of this website. I never used it.
Yeah, and then isotropic became it was the older edition, um, and it had a sort of beta version of cities and never got artifacts um and yeah, after the third edition came out and the person who maintained isotropic sort of stopped maintaining it, and then I found out about Board Game Arena
I
from
see.
one of the friends who taught me and moved away, and started playing him, but then quickly got into tournaments and playing in Arena.
I see.
So yeah. So my playing ramped up as it became easier to do, especially the turn by turn feature is very convenient for my schedule.
I see. And
How long have you been playing?
something like, so I bought it as a gift for my half brother at some point, and I played one game.
Yeah.
And that was it until some friend made me try again, but it was like maybe 5 players or 4 players. I don't know how many we were, and it wasn't a very, like, I wasn't so much into it, in the sense that it looked just a mess essentially. And then this friend told me, no, but you should give it a shot one-on-one, because there is depth into it. And so we played a bit on Board Game Arena, and like he also at some point sort of corrected some of my early mistakes, because like I wasn't sharing enough. And so he gave me some tips, and then at a certain point the person I was playing physical board games with moved away, and I suddenly found myself with nothing to do on weekends. And so I started playing more and more, and then Corona was like the
Yeah.
moment when, like,
That
okay.
definitely Corona was definitely an accelerant for my playing too.
And also, like, it was quite weird because at first I didn't even know there were like turn-based games. And so I was only playing in the arena, which I think is the worst possible thing for your mental health.
Yeah.
And in the sense that you can play forever, and like you get frustrated because you did something wrong, and then you lose again and you get more frustrated, and like,
Yeah.
it's really bad, I think.
I
And
try
then
to I try to I try to set little limits, like like I can play 2 games now, so
yeah,
yeah.
and um yeah, and then there was Millie at some point told me, oh, but the community, like the people organizing the tournaments are really nice, you should give it a shot. And so I tried, and like thanks to the tournaments and the fact that it was turn-based, I realized that not only it is a very interesting game, but it has really a lot of depth. Like there are many more things that you can do than you would actually think of if you have like 30 seconds per move.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Do you I don't think do you play with the expansions at all? Do you have any?
I played Artifacts a bit, and
Mhm.
like there were some tournaments and I tried it. and
Mhm.
I played Echoes a couple of times, and I don't know, like I have nothing against the expansions, except that
Yeah.
I think the base game, like there is still a lot that I would like to understand about it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so like the idea of having more cards and more interaction and more stuff, not like it's not my cup of tea somehow, as long as there are people playing with the other
Yeah.
version.
Yeah.
And also this fourth edition that is coming, I tried it like 3 or 4 games so far, and I'm trying to have an open mind in the sense that I of course I spent a lot of time on the third edition, and if you start changing how paper works, I'm not particularly happy.
Yeah.
Now also, like personally, like it is possible that in the expansion paper is too powerful. That's possible, but for me in the base game, it's really like you need a very specific situation for it to be deadly, in the sense that you need philosophy paper, and then you need perspective. The other person shouldn't have compass. You need to have enough cards on all stacks, and then
Yeah.
of course it becomes absolutely deadly. But it's like very specific situation, and the current phrasing makes it useless in most circumstances. So
Yeah. I mean, I happen to, I really love Figures, which is the one expansion that's not on Board Game Arena. Um, so whenever I get to play physically, I tend to play with Figures, and I also like the combination of Echoes and Figures. Artifacts is my least favorite expansion, but it's also the one I know the least well. Um, but I mean, I agree with you. I like this sort of do you know the phrase a knife fight in the phone booth? The the
And
like the 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 base game to me is like especially 2 players is a really great, knife fight in a phone booth. Like you have a lot of options, but there's also it's very tightly, I know if you're gonna, if you're trying to fill out your board quickly that and you're holding a 2 in your hand, you might have construction, so
yeah,
when you get the expansions, it becomes harder and harder to sort of figure out what your opponent's going to do, which I also like. So it's sort of, I like them both, but I treat them differently and I play them very differently.
yeah, I think my like one very nice thing about innovation is that the fact that you remove 1 card from each deck, and that really
Yes,
changes. Like I mean that's like design genius, I think, because that
yeah,
makes counting cards much more difficult, in the sense that you always have to say, okay, he could have that or that, and usually that's enough to give you uncertainty, and that's something from which games benefits a
yeah,
lot. And also,
yes, yeah,
like, if you have a game where, I don't know, let's say the wheel is missing, then the game develops differently.
yeah,
And then, or like the fact that, like, I don't know, let's say clothing eats, okay, maybe not clothing, but like, let's say for some reason metalworking disappears for any reason, and the wheel is not out, then the game becomes much slower, and like writing becomes more useful and things like this. Like
no.
I think it's
I think at the end of the game, it used to be that in one of the older versions on the arena, board game arena, they used to tell you what the 6, what the 9
yeah
or
but
what the achievements were, and they took that away, and I kind of miss that because it's a nice way to sort of when you think about the game after the fact to sort of realize, oh, that's why,
like
I
I
was
will
worried about my lack of crowns, but skyscrapers wasn't even there.
yeah yes.
So do you want to go through the game as we played it,
Yeah, sure. Maybe
yeah,
we should we look at your perspective or my perspective? I'm not sure.
whichever you prefer. I mean,
Um,
we could do both, quickly. I mean, for me, I felt like I had like as I think I said as we were playing, like the cards really sort of gave me a very clear path, and that one, on I forget what like early move of where I got Empire. I did a road building to Empire from construction. Like that was the point where I was like, okay, I feel like I'm somewhat in control of the game.
Yeah, like that was, I agree. It
Yeah.
was,
Yeah. I just looked up, not to embarrass you, but I just did look, I looked up our match history, and we played 27 times and I've won 6. So you're 21-6 against me. Oh, so actually that leads to the question I want, like, I mean, I tend to play a little bit impulsively, and that's both just because of, I mean, I was playing this match in a loud bar while my son was in class, like a next door in a
Mm.
very narrow piece of time. So it was not like a concentrative, environment. Not that I always play in a concentration environment, but I get the sense that you play and you're really calculating, the odds of what cards I have and what cards are left in the deck.
Yeah, like
And
if I have a turn base,
mhm.
like of course if the final are real time, so like
Yeah,
I take my time and I bore people in the comments. Sorry
yeah.
for that, but like it's still like if it is turn based, I really try to think, okay, like what's the situation now? What can kill me? What cannot? Like what card do I want to get? And
Yeah.
yeah, that takes a lot of time in general. And like, but like, of course, if it is real time, like you have to find a compromise. But I think it's nice to have to have a game played, and Attica does the commentary. I hope it improves
Yeah.
the visibility of a game and also the level of play. Maybe like if
Yeah.
see what can be done.
Yeah. I'm just realizing this person. I used to play, I don't play as much, but I used to play a lot of chess, but I always played more speed chess. Not like super speed chess, but I didn't play like hours long games of chess. I'd play where, with the timer. So I think that's part of the reason why I play kind of fast, is just because of that experience of chess where you're sort of into, like, it's not totally intuitive, but like you're doing calculations, but you also have in the back of your mind a ticking clock. So that tends to be why I play fast, but that also means I make a lot of mistakes, or I'll just sort of take unnecessary risks. And I do dig for some, like I do look for some cards, but I don't, I sort of treat the cards like fate a little bit, and just sort of like, if I lose, well, that was fate, But so, and maybe that's like, in a final like this, I'd be much more careful, or in a tournament game, I tend to be more careful. But yeah.
Yeah, I used to also to take like sort of a fate approach, but at some point I was sorry, there is some innovation game that is going on behind. Somebody made
No
a
problem.
and like at a certain point I asked Drake if he wanted to play, like, because he has a ongoing game with Matt Khan always, like they always have one game going, and I thought that was a nice thing to do, and so I said, would you like to do the same thing with me? And then we exchanged a bit of like how you treat this, how you treat that. And one of the things that I got out of this discussion was that like he basically said, like, if there is always a way to fix a situation in general, like innovation have always a card that can fix. But then if you are really behind at the beginning, you sort of have two options. One is like take bigger and bigger risks, hoping that fate is it, or you try to do what Sidrake does, or at least this is my understanding of what it does. You start planning and you say, okay, like the game ends if this person gets ages 1 to 6 or 1 to 5, depending if he manages to get a special achievement. That means I need to get 3 or 4. How do I get 3 or 4?
Yeah.
And when I started viewing it like this, the game becomes a bit different in the sense that like you can take less risks and try to say, okay, like I maybe like, let's say somebody gets clothing and you get a lot of ones, and this person gets a lot of ones, when maybe you want map making or you want road building or and at least I ended up taking, like, I'm not entirely sure if this helped my game against strong players, but for sure made sure that like when I'm playing against like maybe the first round or second round of the tournament, I lose those games much less often now.
Yeah.
Because like
the I will, yeah, I do. I mean, I do find, I mean, I think I agree with you. Like, especially like, you know, like lots of ones, I'll look for map making, or I'm always on the defensive against ores or machinery because those can be so devastating. But if I don't know where they are, I try to, and one of the things I like about a real-time game, over a turn-based game is it's hard, you know, if I often have a number of tables going and it's hard to remember where every card is if you've got multiple games going at once over a long period of time. But keeping track of where cards are is what I try to do the most. Like I returned this so that, you know, so that if you get optics, then you're going to optics feudalism, and it's not, you know, it's not going to be a problem. But I've often found that if I fixate too much, like I feel that like the most important technique is to be willing to pivot your strategy. Like if you make a plan, you have to be willing to change it completely or throw it out every turn because it might. Yeah. So that's I try to stay flexible.
No, of course, but I don't know. Like I think, like for instance, like let's say that the other person has mathematics. Like you can always hope that the other person will get a blue.
Yeah.
See, Drake's approach is like I draw all the 2s and all the 3s, and eventually I get construction, or I get road building, or I get machinery. Like the focus become more on drawing to like find a way to draw many cards so that you can get the one you need.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, I often lose to Sea Drake, and that's the strategy that I find the most, and that's sort of where I have the most hope for the 4th edition, because especially I find that strategy of play like very boring to play against, because it becomes and no offense to Sea Drake, it's very effective, but like I feel like it's sort of like knowing all the trick openings to chess. It's like if you know all the trick openings to the game and your opponent doesn't, it's very easy to defeat them immediately. So I'm hoping I haven't played the 4th edition at all. I haven't even looked at the live stream of the new stuff, but I'm hoping that some of that takes away that strategy a little bit.
Like the drawing a lot, or like
drawing a lot at the beginning.
Like my only like I don't know, I don't think Sea Drake does it like he does it for countering specific things. Like
no, I totally, I do it too sometimes. Like if I have the cards to give myself as many cards as I can, like if it's a way to win, it's, you know, I definitely do it. It's not you know, but it's like I find it, or I'll put it this way, is that the part of what I love about innovation is that there are so many different possible strategies, and when you're playing against someone, or when you're either playing that strategy or playing against that specific strategy, to me it feels like you're sort of ignoring all these other interesting, like, sort of weird strategies you can find, and I love exploring those weird strategies. So it and it I mean, I'm thinking there's a certain player I won't name, but who I've been playing on Arena with Echoes a lot, and they get Liquid Fire, which is a 3 red, 3 light bulb card, and which can just destroy your hand and take it to their score pile. And this player manages to get that card almost every time and manages to wipe out everything I have with it. And it's very, it's just sort of very frustrating. It's very frustrating to play because even if I have interesting strategies percolating in my hand, I can't explore them because I just have to be on the defensive against one card. So yeah.
I mean, and there's then, like, in some, like, we all have been in the position where, like, the other person has pottery and all lower cards are gone, and the other person just blindly uses pottery and gets a score and wins. But
Yeah.
no, for me it becomes like, okay, that's a boring strategy, but then you have to plan in advance to make sure that thing doesn't happen, or you try to at least what you can avoid it. And so from that point of view, like many, like, I understand that, like, it's people would have more fun if the game gets to the later ages, and because there the interaction becomes crazier and crazier, and it's more new in some sense, instead of, like, we always end up with pottery returning one card. But like, I think, like, one possible way out is to change the game, as they are doing with 4th edition, and, like, I honestly don't know if they did a good job or not. I think what the change they made with archery is an interesting one, like, to make sure that you remove some of the achievements at the beginning, so that if you have a very strong hand, the other person can just say, okay, like, you will be ahead in scoring, but you don't get the first 2 achievements, essentially. But the other option is, like, improving the level of play, because, like, when Drake and I play, I mean, so of course, sometimes you have one person that is drawing 5 cards and the other person does 6-0, but so somehow very often we get to a position where it's 3-3, and then the late game develops naturally somehow.
Those are definitely the most interesting games. And it is interesting. I feel like, it's sort of hard to know, to know what's happening, like who's playing whom, and to keep track of everything. But it is interesting when there'll be a strategy that's dominant, on the tables or in tournaments for a few weeks or a month, and then someone figures out a good counter strategy, and it sort of percolates through everyone else, like, and so, like, you'll see sort of strategies and counter strategies develop over time, sort of as a social phenomenon, which is very interesting.
Yes.
I can't think of any one particular one, but it was a long time. It was back when I was playing on isotropic, but I remember when I figured out that to use the printing press, to use printing press to sort of make it to return early cards, to make printing press to make pottery less useful, and when I figured that out very early on, I'd sort of discounted printing press unless you have a high purple card, but then I realized it had other values. So I love it when you find out a card has other values that as a counter to cards you hadn't necessarily thought of.
Like, I think this is one interesting, like, when like the first time I noticed that somebody was returning a card and then using sailing to mess up your board, I was like, wow, that's genius.
Yeah.
And then you start doing it yourself in all sort of possible ways. And on top of
Yeah.
that, also draw a card, like.
Yeah.
But
So should we go through? Do you want to?
yeah.
I'm happy either side of it. You know, I mean, you have.
Let's take yours. I think you're maybe close.
Okay. There's another thing to ask is to be able to watch the game with both sides visible, but I know the devs are busy. The developers are busy enough.
Yeah, like it can. Yeah, so out of curiosity, if you have clothing and the other person has agriculture, do you share?
It sort of depends on what my second
Yeah,
card
sure.
is.
But
Yeah. If I'd say, well, I also sort of, I mean, and they're going to go, I think it's good that they go first with that because, you know, if they draw, then I tend to not, and if they don't, I tend to like if you know, I tend to. But I will say clothing and writing is like pretty much my favorite.
Oh, really?
Open that or something with like I also love domestication. It's like if I get if I get one of the clothing or domestication as a first card, then they're almost always the one I put out. And yeah, but clothing and writing I think is particularly powerful because you can sort of control the one deck for, you know, the by scoring it, and you can sort of also get a little look ahead into the two deck and either try to get construction or lock map making away quickly so you know that your clothing ones are going to be safe for, you know. So yeah, I was very happy to have these two cards.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of writing. Like clothing, of course, is very strong, but
yeah, I'm not a big fan of writing except for sort of in combination with a card like clothing. Yeah.
No, because I had agriculture.
Yeah.
But so my problem is like my idea for the openings is like like clothing is one problem essentially, and the other one is either metalworking or the wheel.
Yeah.
And if you have to choose between masonry and agriculture, I think if you have agriculture, then of course you have to draw.
Yeah.
And then if I'm the other person, I would share twice in general.
Yeah.
And then you are giving two cards to a person with clothing.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit. And instead,
Well,
masonry allows you to, at least if you get a lot of castles, you can sort of cover the board in one move. So that was my.
yeah. And I will say, I think that opening anytime I have an opening that's two of the same color, I consider it unlucky. Like it's almost never good to have like double the same color. You're already at a disadvantage from the start.
I agree. It's I cannot think of. Yeah, maybe domestication is okay. Domestication masonry, maybe it's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, but yeah, I agree. Like particularly like if you have pottery and one of the other two blues, like I always go with the other one because I'm too afraid of the other person having clothing and sharing.
Yeah.
That's a death sentence essentially, I think.
Yeah.
So here you scored sailing and metalworking, and then so I drew oars, and the second one was God of Law.
Wait, it was what was it? It was what were the two you drew?
Sorry, oars.
Oh, Oris, yeah.
And Code of Law, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and then once you didn't meld, then did I? Oh yeah, so here I had like I almost just kept on drawing ones, but I was like, I assume you were going for monument, so that you would probably keep drawing. So I just thought rather than just score 2 and 2, I thought it best just to see if I got a 2 that was different from green or blue, it would be great. So that's why I drew first.
Yeah, no,
and then
sorry.
I mean, I know playing you, you're not gonna like it's when you're playing a less experienced player, you can sort of play the clothing to monument trick on someone once and then they'll never let it happen again. But you know, so I know when I'm playing a less experienced player, I could maybe get away with that, but I knew I couldn't get away with that with you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I wasn't actually going for monument. It was just like my idea was like if I get more castles, I can just play them all at once.
Right.
Just to cover the board more quickly.
Yeah.
And that's what I know. So here I thought maybe.
Yeah, and I realized at that point that that since I had scored all things with castles, that you were that it was gonna be hard for you to get monument from masonry.
Yeah, like, against me, you can be almost sure that I'm not part. Like, of course, if I get 4 cards and they're all all
right.
castles, I gladly get it. But like,
Yeah, so here I once I had map making, then so then it was just sort of a bit of just making sure you didn't get map making, or by the time you did get it, it would be useless to you. Yeah, and there I wanted to make to make your ors decision more difficult. Like I just knew if it was just if it's 2 cards, then you would definitely have a reason to do ors. But here it's like I don't mind. Yeah, I took the little risk on ors, knowing that like maybe it would be like a string of crowns after map making, but um that allowed me to reclaim the leaf dominance and then just make and if you score map making, then I prefer you have map making than you use in your score pile than use it against me. So
yeah, here actually Block was making a good point. Because of the way the cards were ordered, if I had done ors, I would have got H1.
Yeah.
Because it was I drew. So I drew canal building. So I got canal building in my hand. There was currency.
Yeah.
So I would have got 6 points, but made the wrong choice. I don't know. Maybe I didn't realize with a long shot I could get it. Honestly, like I was too focused on trying to stop clawing, but maybe I should have.
Yeah. Yeah, and so here I was just, I was drawing and making sure that I was just trying to make sure like I wouldn't have I was drawing, but I drew first and then I didn't do it because I just if I had crowns in my hand, I would have had to act. I would have used road building to get them out onto the board quickly, whatever they were. Yeah, that actually kind of it sort of surprised me that you gave me ors there. I mean, I realized your hand was small, but ors is something that I tend not to give away, just because like I've been very devastated in the late game when someone had like uses publishing to resurface ors. So I was sort of surprised you gave it, and then it was sort of a difficult decision here whether or not to give it back to you. But yeah, I realized I didn't want to leave you with the leaf dominance with pottery there. So
yeah,
and that's why I gave it back.
Actually, maybe I should have used pottery and get, because at this stage I had to play one card, right? No, okay. Then maybe this decision was okay, but if because I had 3 cards, like you probably thought about the fact that I wouldn't be able to use pottery to return 3 and achieve the age. Like you did it on purpose. Yeah. Here I was hoping, or maybe he leaves me clothing. Because he's scared of currency. But I mean, I knew that currency was not going to stay very long. But
I just figured that currency would be slow. You'd have to draw. You'd have to, like it was like a slower move.
Yeah. I don't know. Like here, like I use ores essentially because I don't know. Sharing pottery didn't seem like a great idea. And in my hand, I had agriculture. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Because the another option would have been to use canal building, recover map making, and try to get things started that way. Maybe to the
and that's part of the reason also why I gave you back ores, because I wanted road building to be able to take away your map making if you got it.
Yeah. So, I don't know. So here, we are giving construction, which caused more problems later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably like ores was not a great idea, also given that you had machinery. But I honestly later I forgot that like with philosophy you could get easily the majority. Like this is a kind of thing that if I have one day to think about a move, like that tends not to happen. But like, if it is a real-time game, like it's a bit more difficult to check for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here I was just trying to get on the board essentially, because I felt you were way ahead, but I don't know.
Yeah, I felt like we were pretty equal. Like once you did, I felt we were pretty equal here, and this was a bit of a gambit because I was giving you engineering, and you could really destroy my board based on what you had left, and code of laws. Like
you took math from me, which was like very nice. Also you got Empire. No, I thought this was like after this, it was like I didn't know what to do, because I had lost. I still didn't have a leaf majority, and here I didn't think about like machinery and so on. I was starting to daydream about, okay, maybe navigation.
That's right. I got it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it was really like, okay, like I'm behind on everything, and he has math. Yeah, like I don't know. Yeah, you really here you just had to score and get to 6, and it was over 5 even. It was over.
Yeah.
No, 6. Here I got anatomy. Maybe. Yeah, here the plan was like paper, canal building, education, and hope for a miracle, essentially.
Yeah.
Because also you were drawing more, you could steal, you could score, like.
Yeah, no, yeah, and also here I was just like, I've got a very like there I sort of had a thought like I could score. You would only be able to score 1-4, but I would score you know invention in mathematics. But I thought it was more important just to sort of figure out where gunpowder was. Just like on the chance they are trying to prevent you from getting. Of course, it could backfire and gunpowder's in the second half of the deck. But once I knew that I had gunpowder, I felt like pretty confident in my hand.
Yeah, so here I got perspective together with another bunch of cards. So maybe I could have melded perspective and tried to go for score that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought,
I think it made more sense. I felt that well, once you're done, I assumed you were going to try to leapfrog to 6 with education, because once
yeah, that was, but I don't know, like the problem is like you had better board overall and you had math, so I knew that even like and you could steal the 6, so like
yeah.
it was yeah, here I think you actually like not sure you had to like like of course,
To gunpowder
yeah, I mean I was like the score was so high that I was saying okay, like
yeah.
like,
I mean I'd say that like I'd say when I was a player, I made the mistake of always of achieving as soon as I could, and I forget who it was. It was someone on isotropic. Um, I think they went by the name Sir Digby Chicken Caesar, but they they would never achieve until I was in striking distance of achieving, and and sort of understood the opportunity loss of like it's always better to do something like achieve. Anytime you achieve, you're not actually doing something. Obviously, you need the achievements to win, but like strength, it's almost always better to strengthen your position than to achieve if you can
yeah,
delay the achievement.
I don't know how, like I agree with the principle, but like right now you could choose, but like if you
Yeah,
start having like 2 achievements, I think it's something like I prefer not to leaving them there. So,
yeah.
because somehow it is true, like you might not want to, like in this position I think it was the right move, like to do other
Mhm.
stuff, in the sense that like at this stage, like you have so many options that
Yeah,
even if I by any chance get 4 or 5, like you will still be okay.
yeah.
But like there are other situations in which like because you didn't achieve, when the other person um ends up getting some of the achievements, um just because there aren't enough, there are too many things you have to do at the same
Sure do.
time. So
Yeah, sure, it can backfire. But I also there, like I whenever I have an opportunity to destroy someone's splay, I almost always take it. I think that really harms, if it gets into a late game, it can harm someone.
yeah, like
I
my
think we're finding out I'm a more vindictive player than you are.
my my general goal is to end the game before it gets to the late game.
Yeah. I think that comes from me playing so much expansion stuff too, which tend to go to the later game more.
Mm.
Um, so when I started playing on Board Game Arena, I was losing constantly because I was so used to paying multiple expansions at once, and I realized it was because I was doing you have to do much more careful sort of like keep building out your board for late game achievements, special achievements especially. And so I was just constantly trying building these beautiful boards that, and by the time my board was perfect, I would lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we had a joke. We have a joke with me and a friend of mine, Swariats, and they will say like, if you play against like somebody who really likes Code of Laws, like you should give it to them. Like find a way so that they find it, so that like when they are happily playing everything to the left, you are at age 4 with gunpowder, destroying their castles, and like yeah. So here I got metric system, which like I wasn't too happy with.
Yeah, that was pretty much the worst thing you could get there.
Yeah, like was not happy. Like I was hoping maybe ending or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm usually very happy to destroy my board if it gives me score.
Right, yeah.
I mean, yeah. And yeah, here then you hide again. Like I could have used metric system to get one extra bolt, but I mean I knew you have math, so I knew it was more or less over.
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely playing it much sort of safer than I usually do, just to, you know.
Yeah, but there was no need to take risks. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, and then I figured once you were sharing math machine tools with me, that
yes, sorry.
Yeah, just the I mean, I obviously also had 5 of 6, but it was sort of like it was just sort of finding out the quickest way to get to the end.
Yeah, I mean it was. Yeah, I don't know. I will look at it again and see. Like for sure, Ors would have changed the things quite a lot. I think because if I had got one, then I would have been at 6 with pottery. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. Like it would have been a different game, I think. But like.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But once you got construction and like, you were really ahead. Oh, nicely done! Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, it was a good one.
By the way, I don't know if I've been taking track of who won which tournaments. And so I created sort of a point system to keep. So the idea would be to have like a tournament after like we play for 1 year all the tournaments, and then we get the 16 best players, and we.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
And so right now you are you're like with you're 4th right now.
Oh wow.
Like the monthly tournament it's like 250.
Yeah, and the 3 above me are the 3 that the 3 of you who I'm most scared to go up against when I see you in the tournament. I like to check the brackets early on. It's like, okay, am I gonna go up against one of the 3 of you, early on, or is it going to be like closer towards the end of the tournament?
You won block monoid, right, in the semifinal?
Yeah, I've beaten all 3 of you certainly, but it's sort of a harder.
Sure.
Smoku, QC, everyone in the top you know, 15 beat me pretty regularly, you know, or 10, I'd say. Matt Kahn used to, I haven't seen Matt Kahn in a while, but I still have a hard time playing Matt Kahn. For some reason, like it's sort of, you know, it's like I can understand certain styles of play. Like yours, I understand. I just haven't figured out, usually can't figure out a good way to get around it, unless the cards really help me out. But and Matt Kahn is someone else like that. But
Like he's a tactical genius, I think.
yeah.
Like I think in general, I'm pretty good at saying, like, if I think the other person can do whatever, but I still get age free, I usually
Mhm.
get age free. But like with him, it's like case usually. Like
Yeah.
he always comes up with something I hadn't thought of. Like,
Yeah. It's fun to play him though, because I definitely learn new strategies for that
yeah.
reason. Yeah.
Like if you had
Um,
to describe the way I play, like what is your impression? Like, because to me you seem like you rely a lot on light bulbs. It seems like you like
yeah, I mean,
to go up in age. I think is
yeah, I definitely, well, I'd say that I do that more against you because um I feel that your early game is very, very strong. So it's like if the and I feel like my early game is the weakest. So I mean I'd say that your style in general is calculating and you know, so and I feel like you're seeing more angles than I am. And the the so I use light bulbs against you more than I'd say I usually. I mean, I do like light bulbs in general, but more than I usually do because I sort of feel like my best bet is to just get way up ahead of you and try to stay up there
mm.
in age. But yeah, yeah, I mean, it's hard to sort of analyze your own, you know, your own play too much. I find like it's easier to analyze the way someone else plays.
No,
You
but
know,
like,
I mean,
what's your favorite card? Let's put it this way.
what's my favorite? I think publishing is my favorite card. Because
You
it really,
you will not like the edition 4 then.
oh no. Well, I mean, I survived. I mean, I mean, started playing in the first edition, and the change to the third like really sort of rocked me once. I feel like the game got better. It took me a while to get used to it, so I have some trust
Hmm.
that the changes will be. You know, I mean, I haven't looked at any of the cards, so I don't know. But I
No,
like publishing as it is now because it because that's sort of digging up a game for the card, like digging up ores or digging up a low playing card and using it against all the other high cards on the board is incredibly satisfying. um like successfully. So yeah.
I have sad news for you.
Yeah. What does it do now?
So you can still play,
Hmm.
but that the other part is gone. And what it does, it can remove special achievements, available
uh,
special achievements from the board, or put them
yeah.
back.
Well, interesting.
And my understanding is that the only other card that can remove special achievements is feudalism.
Hmm.
That if you manage to do the demand action, you remove all the special achievements.
Oh wow.
But I don't know, like
That seems that seems like it would in a multiplayer game. Well, I guess you have to get less achievements, but it could. I mean, it can force a game to age. I guess 11 now. You know, because if you know, three people have two achievements each in a three-player game. Let's see, is that I'm trying to work that out. Oh, interesting. Yeah. You know, yeah, it'll make me sad. I mean, I feel like I'll play, you know, I'll play both versions for a while as different versions of the same game.
Yeah,
To me, it's just like it. I mean, that's also why I like the expansions. Is it's just more innovation. Like it doesn't, like I don't sort of care. I mean, I do have like some preferences, but like it's sort of I love exploring the strategies and that emerge, and it's sort of like the more different ways that strategies can emerge, the more branching paths there are, the more fun I'm having. So
no,
yeah, I mean maybe talk to me after I played and I've gotten publishing and I couldn't use it the way I like to use it, then I'll be more upset. What's your favorite card?
mine is Call.
Mm.
Because like you can do so many things with it.
Yeah.
It has fast scoring, a weaker version of optics, say. Like so like there are some situations where like you have two, like maybe your board is empty and you need to get a 6 and you finish all the 5 and then it allows you to rearrange the board. Like if you need something which is like down, you can dig it up. I think it allows for a lot of flexibility somehow.
Yeah, and it's like publishing the third edition publishing. It's the other card that has them. Other publishing has more fine control over what card you
Call
can
is
do.
a bit
But
coarse.
yeah, exactly. But it allows the editing of your board the most sort of aggressively, and Canning can do that too. But yeah. Yeah, well, this was great. Thank you very much for spearheading you and Pirate spearheading the streaming and doing all this. It's certainly it makes it more fun to be able to talk about it and think it through a little more than after the fact.
Thanks. Is it okay if I put it on YouTube?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yep, totally, definitely.
Okay. Then,
okay.
Have a nice day and thank you for.
Yeah, well, you have a nice day. I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, it was great.
Night.
It was great. Yeah, and a good day to you, and I look forward to seeing you on the next table we play at.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Good day. Bye bye.